receiving gas through these pipelines. They were financed by Russian businesses, German businesses, Austrian businesses, Italian businesses. In fact, they insulted many European companies. Many years ago, it was found that the phone number of Angela Merkel was wiretapped by the National Security Agency. This fact required no investigation. It was a universally acclaimed fact, and the German Chancellor behaved not like a leader of the EU's main country. She behaved like a head of the government of an occupied state. And this same thing can be seen now even more vividly. Not only was Germany humiliated, it was cut down a notch or two as a satellite of the United States. The United States will decide whether Germany would be able to ensure its economic development and providing people's needs through the use of gas received through a pipeline that was paid for, among others, by Germany. They were told, no, you pay the money, but you can forget all about it. We buried it, as was promised by Biden last January, that this pipeline will not exist. It was also promised by Nuland. Liz Truss promised the same thing right after the act of terrorism. She expressed her rejoice on social media. Radek Sikorski, my former Polish counterpart, wrote, "Thank you, United States." Nuland, less than a month ago in Congress, said that she shares the joy of the senators over the fact that these pipelines were turned to a pile of metal on the bottom of the Barents Sea. Isn't it admittance? Hands down. The most absurd thing is that nobody from the Western media is writing about this. Seymour Hersh is trying to make his truth go up through the social media. The mainstream media, however, has been keeping silence about this. It is a death sentence to the collective West, to itself, by the United States, first and foremost, regarding what rules are meant when the whole world is being told, forget about international law, about the United Nations. Autocracies are plenty there. We are going to build a system of democracies instead. We will invite people we want to see there, and we are going to follow rules on which the world order should build. The things that happen is one of the examples, vivid examples, of these same rules, whose authors don't care about misfortunes faced by many countries, including the immediate allies of the United States. They now claim the Russians are causing a food crisis, an energy crisis. I have no doubts you're professionals, and you know very well the facts adduced by the World Health Organization, World Food Program, FAO, as to when the food crisis broke out. When the collective West, following its best colonial traditions, when the pandemic of COVID-19 began, these collective Western countries started buying food products by printing trillions of dollars in order to have everything for a rainy day. Poor countries didn't get anything back then, and it happens now too. The Black Sea Initiative, for one. New statistics were published today. The poorest African countries received 10% or less. Half went to the EU. Food stocks have been accumulated. Some of these parts will be sent to third world countries, but they will sell them. Many of the things that we call the outcomes of these Western rules give a food for thought. They have been going along this road for a very long time, and the explosions on the pipelines were the ultimate decision, ultimate resolution of the German gas issue, like they're now attempting to solve the Russian issue. They also attempted to address the German issue too, in order to prevent Germany from playing any independent role ever again in the years to come. There have been multiple researchers, those who were interested in the history of Europe. They concluded whenever Russia and Germany had normal relations, whenever they had joint initiatives for economics, logistics, or even in the military industry, Europe always had a peaceful life. Less peaceful life was with those who wanted to command Europe from overseas or over the English Channel. It was more true at many stages of the historical development. So now they made sure Germany is not going to grow as the leading European force, thanks to reliable, cheap energy from Russia at competitive prices that would ensure the advantageous growth of the German economy. What I read now, Scholz and Annalena Baerbock, Borrell, rather than Barrel, these people always say the West overcame Russian sanctions. What Russian sanctions are we talking about? The West prohibited Russia from selling oil and gas for the most part. It left some ways out, minor ways out, in order to spare themselves, to the extent the United States let the collective West have these little ways out. Ursula von der Leyen said, we won, but never did I see, and I'm speaking now to independent media, never did I see even an approximate assessment as to how much more expensive it is for Europe now to ensure the energy demand. Have a look. You will not find a single statistical report, not a single European Reconstruction and Development Bank report, any exact figures of the expenses of Europe on buying oil and gas last year and the amounts spent this year and expected to be spent next year. There are only courageous reports that we have replaced the Russian oil and gas. How much does it cost to German, French economies, Austrian economies, French to a lesser extent, that dependent on oil and gas generation? I encourage you to carry out investigations of these kinds. Nobody prevents you from holding a journalist investigation. Maybe it is you, instead of Guterres, who would investigate further the details provided by Seymour Hersh. You do not have Mr. Dujarric, a French citizen, accidentally, who said that the United States do not have authorities to investigate. Investigations of journalists, however, are very much appropriate considering Hersh being a respectable journalist. And if an investigation of a respectable journalist are referred to by Ned Price as really an insulting word, to a Pulitzer Prize winner saying it's nonsense, something we do not respond to. It is a great sign of disrespect by a DOS representative to those he works with. But considering that not all your bosses are net prices, then attempt an investigation. Tiresome?